Is it necessary to get a divorce just because I slept with your best friend for 40 years? While helping my husband clean his computer, I accidentally opened a folder. There were tens of thousands of large-scale videos in it. The protagonist was his and my lifelong best friend. After I gave birth, he said that he was injured and couldn't have sex, so he only had a platonic relationship with me and didn't touch me for 40 years. I worked hard for half my life and gave birth to children for him, but in the end, all this turned out to be a complete lie. I stared at the screen in disbelief, and my hand holding the mouse was shaking. Each video was carefully named X year, X month, X day. He, with white hair, pressed her, who was also white hair, under him. He kissed her neck affectionately and touched her body gently. When I flipped to the top, the picture was blurred, and the sense of age came to my face. Their faces were visibly young. Next to the bed was my wedding photo with Chen Junhui. But the woman whose clothes he rudely tore off on the bed was not me. He pressed her under him, and they hugged each other tightly, as if they wanted to merge each other into their bodies. I fell to the ground with a sense of palpitation, and I couldn't help but breathe quickly. I breathed heavily, but it seemed that no matter how much I opened my mouth, oxygen could not enter my chest. Tears fell on the back of my hand. When he said that he was incapable, I hesitated, but I couldn't bear to leave him. I endured 40 years of loneliness for him, but I didn't expect it to be a complete lie. When I was taking care of the elderly and children with a disheveled face, and when I was alone in the middle of the night, he was lingering with my best friend. On countless unbearable nights, I asked him to hug me, but he didn't want to. It turned out that he was keeping his virginity for others. I hated him so much, hated how cruel he was, and lied to me for 40 years. I couldn't understand why he didn't abandon me and be with the person he loved since he didn't like me. Why did you team up with my best friend to betray me and ruin my life? My brain felt like it was entangled by dense ropes. It was extremely painful and I couldn't figure out the clues. I got up and searched all the drawers I could find. I wanted to find out everything, but I found nothing. I remembered that Chen Junhui had a relationship before marriage, but my parents-in-law didn't agree. I didn't ask the specific reason. I called my eldest sister-in-law. My eldest sister-in-law heard that I seemed to have cried. "Sister, I'm fine. I'm suddenly curious about Junhui's story when he was young. Why did my parents object so strongly at that time? That woman can't give birth, why does our family want her?" My brain suddenly banged, as if it was thundered. The phone fell to the ground with a thud. Wu Kui is infertile. No wonder she not only didn't let me tell my in-laws about my relationship with her, but also never appeared in front of my in-laws. It turned out that Chen Junhui married me just to let me carry on his family line. They were lying to me from the beginning. Wu Kui approaching me and becoming my good friend was also part of their plan. It felt like a big hole was smashed in my heart, and blood was gushing out. I sat on the floor in a daze. The bright sunshine outside the window was clearly shining on my forehead, but the coldness penetrated every pore of my body. I looked at the blue sky and white clouds in the distance, and looked back at my 40 years. What did I do wrong to make me like this? My cell phone rang. It was my son calling. Wen wants to eat for happiness meatballs. Please make some for him. Wen is my grandson. He went to his mother's house with his mother. It seems that he is coming back. I didn't say anything and hung up the phone. 2. I clicked on the circle of friends and Chen Junhui posted a dynamic. In the photo, although he is already in his 70s, his posture is still like the pine and cypress of Tsangshan Mountain, straight and upright. You can still vaguely see some of his youth. He is a senior professor in the Department of Literature, and Wu Kui is a literary critic. They often sit together like this and discuss literary works. Chen Junhui, who is always serious, is smiling brightly at this moment. In the distance, his son, who never works at home, is standing on the big tree in Wu Kui's yard, pruning branches and leaves with scissors. He works so hard that he doesn't even bother to wipe the sweat off. But I clearly remember that when I asked him to help me prune, he said he was afraid of heights. My heart was in a burst of pain, and my back couldn't bear it. Tears fell unexpectedly. I suddenly felt how ridiculous my efforts over the years were. I get up at 5 in the morning every day without fail to help the whole family make breakfast. After breakfast, I have to wash the dishes and tidy up the kitchen. My son and daughter-in-law have to go to work, and I have to rush to send my grandson to school. On their way back, I have to go to the supermarket to buy vegetables, and when I get home, I have to clean the room and wash clothes. After that, I have to hurry to pick and wash the vegetables and prepare lunch. After lunch is ready, I have to pick up my grandson. My grandson is picky about food and always likes to eat delicious food such as for happiness meatballs, fried eggplant boxes, and braised prawns. It takes more time to prepare delicious food. Sometimes I am too busy and ask Chen Junhui to help pick up the child. He always frowns and complains that I disturb him reading in the study. I have been busy like a top. Over the years, I have almost collapsed from exhaustion, and I have no complaints. But this is the end. I have to admit that I am not only an unnecessary wife, but also an unnecessary mother. After recognizing my position, I suddenly sobered up. I don't want to waste a minute of my time on these scumbags anymore. In the future, I will be better to myself. I went to the mall and bought myself a new set of clothes. I was a little hungry when I came back, so I went to a private restaurant and ordered a few dishes. For so many years, I have been busy in the kitchen every day, except for attending wedding banquets, in order to save money and for their health. I will never regard the kitchen as my own world again. I watched short videos when I got home. It was getting dark, and I got up to drink some water. The sound of a key turning in the lock came from outside the door. Chen Junhui came in. He no longer smiled gently like in the photo. His serious expression, coupled with gold-rimmed glasses, gave people a sense of alienation that was daunting. He was always so high and cold to me. I was a little afraid of him. I told him when we just got married. He said he couldn't express himself, and it was enough to have me in his heart. After seeing his tenderness towards Wu Kui in the video, I no longer thought he was like this by nature. I just felt that he was extremely disgusting and hypocritical. He rubbed his eyebrows and said as a matter of course, "Make some honey water." I just drank some wine and my stomach is not feeling well. If it were any other time, I would definitely get up and make it for him, but now I turned a deaf ear to it. Seeing that I didn't move, Chen Junhui frowned fiercely. "I'm talking to you." In the past, I would unconsciously get nervous when I saw his impatient look. But today, I found myself calm. "I don't have time, make it by yourself." Chen Junhui looked incredible. No wonder, this was the first time I refused him. His face darkened. "What's wrong with you today? You didn't answer your son's call. We ate outside today and didn't ask you to prepare. Wouldn't it be better to let you rest for a day?" Just when I was about to say something, my son and his family of 3 came back. 3. My son blamed me for not replying to messages. My grandson jumped to the kitchen to eat for happiness meatballs, but came out disappointed. "Grandma, where are the for happiness meatballs? Give them to me. I want to eat them. They are not made." After he finished speaking, the grandson burst into tears. My daughter-in-law immediately hugged her grandson and coaxed him. My son stood in front of me with an incredible look on his face. "Mom, are you crazy today? I hung up when I called you, I didn't reply to any messages, and I didn't even make the meatballs. What did you do at home all day?" He accused me like I was not his mother, but a nanny he hired. I looked at him calmly, didn't answer him, but asked, "You don't have acrophobia, right?" He was stunned for a moment, then turned his face away guiltily. "So you lied about being afraid of heights just to avoid helping me climb the tree to prune branches. But you climbed someone else's tree to help. What other people?" My son interrupted me hastily. "That's my Aunt Wu. She can't do that kind of work as a woman. It's okay to help, right? Isn't she your best friend?" I didn't say anything, but stared at my son for a long time, the son I gave birth to after going through the gates of hell and spending half my life to give birth to. During the confinement period, my milk supply was insufficient, and he cried in the middle of the night because he was hungry. He didn't eat milk powder. I finally squeezed out some milk, and he happily sucked it non-stop. After eating and drinking, he finally stopped making trouble, and his little mouth kept laughing. I couldn't help but pinch his chubby little face. I thought, how can my baby be so cute? He has always been very attached to me. When he was babbling, the first word he said was "Mom." When he was in primary school, he still wanted to sleep with me. I said that he was a boy and he should sleep by himself when he grew up. He said in a baby voice, "I don't care. I want to be with my mother all my life and love her all my life." But he broke his promise. He took me as a nanny as a matter of course and spoke ill of me. He despised me as a mother who didn't even graduate from primary school, had no education and no ability. He was not as good as his father who could pave the way for his future, and was not as prestigious as Wu Kui's title of literary critic. A tear fell silently. I said in a hoarse voice, "You are no longer my son in the future." He looked at me with some disdain, as if I were some crazy woman who had eaten mad dog meat. Chen Junhui, who had been silent the whole time, angrily rebuked me. "What are you doing? The whole family is happy, what's wrong with you? Do you feel happy that you have to make the atmosphere at home like this?" I looked at him calmly, "And you, from now on, you are no longer my husband." Chen Junhui frowned. "What do you mean?" "Let's get a divorce. I don't want to live with you anymore." He widened his eyes in astonishment and said coldly, "It's just nonsense. We are all old, why get a divorce? Aren't you afraid that the children will laugh at you?" The daughter-in-law saw the scene and he was embarrassed and held my hand to smooth things over. "Mom, did Dad do something wrong? If there is anything, let's ask him to change it. Don't be angry." My son interrupted with an angry face. "What can Dad do wrong? She does nothing at home all day. I guess she is too idle and wants to find trouble. She is so old, don't worry about Alzheimer's disease. She started talking nonsense as soon as we came back. Mom, I warn you, apologize to Dad immediately, don't even think about divorce, I will be the first to disagree." He kept chattering, and I finally couldn't help it. "Who do you think you are? I need your consent for divorce." 4. I usually speak to him in a gentle voice, and I have never yelled at him like this. He widened his eyes in shock. The others were also stunned, as if they were frightened by my reaction. My son was embarrassed by what I said, and he slammed the door and left in anger. My daughter-in-law saw that I was so abnormal and didn't say anything else. She picked up her grandson and ran away. Chen Junhui rebuked me with an unhappy face. "You've driven the children away, are you happy now?" Seeing that I ignored him, his face immediately turned cold. "Wang Hongxia, I advise you not to do it again, or you'll have no way out." The tone was very impatient, as if he had reached the limit of his patience. "Don't you understand what people say? I said divorce, so let's talk about divorce, don't fucking talk nonsense." He is a professor with a bright and elegant demeanor, well-mannered, and he can't say vulgar words even when he is angry. But I can, I want to scold him with the most vulgar and ugly words in the world. I want to rush up and tear him into pieces. This is the first time I've said such ugly words to him. A trace of shock flashed in his eyes, his chest heaved violently, but his face was still calm. "I don't know what happened to you suddenly, but I won't pursue it this time. If you want a divorce, I'll pretend I didn't hear it." After that, he went into the study. I felt sick looking at his sanctimonious appearance, and I had to sigh that he was really thick-skinned. He had kept it a secret from me for a lifetime, and he didn't even feel the slightest bit of guilt. Since he believed that I was making trouble for no reason, I didn't want to waste time talking to him. I simply took some necessary luggage, didn't say hello to him, and went to the hotel to stay for one night. The next day, I took a train to the north. My hometown is a northern city. I haven't been here for many years since my parents passed away. The yard was full of grass, but fortunately the house didn't collapse. I hired a construction team to renovate it. It was done in less than 2 days, and the whole house looked brand new. This will be my home from now on. I bought some flower and vegetable seeds, and planned to grow flowers and vegetables. On the day I planted seeds, I received a call from my son. After a long silence, I hung up without saying anything, and the other party slowly spoke. "Mom, I'm sorry, I was wrong that day, I apologize to you, where are you? I'm here to pick you up." Wen said she missed Grandma and wanted to eat the fried meatballs made by Grandma. "I'm not your nanny, nor your chef, and I made it very clear that day that you and I have nothing to do with each other anymore, don't call me in the future." I hung up after that. I knew that Chen Junhui couldn't save his face and asked his son to call me. Sure enough, I received a call from Chen Junhui after a while. He acted as if nothing had happened, and his tone was still so calm. "Where is my antihypertensive medicine? I didn't take it in the past few days when you were away. This is just making small talk." I said coldly, "Why are you asking me about your antihypertensive medicine? And I wonder how many days you haven't taken it? Even if you die immediately, it has nothing to do with me. I don't need to think, You can know that Chen Junhui must be stunned at this moment. I continued, it's a pity that you didn't die. If you didn't die, let's talk about divorce. When will you divorce? There was silence on the other side for a long time, and Chen Junhui said awkwardly, Wang Hongxia, what's wrong with you? You weren't like this before. You have always been gentle and kind, why do you say such things to me? I am not only gentle and kind, but I am also stupid and easy to deceive, right? His rare voice softened a little. Hongxia, what are you dissatisfied with me, can you tell me? Let's communicate properly, can you not play missing? You are so old, if it gets to the neighbor's ears, how can I raise my head? Where are you? My son and I are here to pick you up. Why pick me up? Are you going to handle the divorce procedures? Seeing that I was not convinced, his tone became bad. Hongxia, I'll give you a way out, so just back off. Don't say you don't want to when I really agree. Listen, Mr. Chen. I'll give you a week. I hope you'll call me next time to discuss divorce. After that, I hung up. 5. After planting vegetables, I bought myself a small cake to celebrate my new life. I don't want to live for them anymore. I don't want to live for anyone. I want to live for myself. Before I'm a wife or a mother, I myself first. After eating the cake, I lay on the sofa and watched TV comfortably. The sea on TV was beautiful and magnificent. I suddenly realized that I had never traveled once in my life. I checked the guide and finally chose Qingdao. I wanted to see what was on the other side of the sea. I immediately went to the train station to buy a ticket, picked up my luggage, and set off. Standing on the beach, I faced the wind, opened my arms, and felt the ease and freedom I had never had before. At this moment, I seemed to have found the meaning of life and felt that I was alive. I visited many local attractions and ate a lot of snacks. Every place made me linger. I also registered an account on social software to post my daily life. Many people liked and commented on me to interact with me. On the day of leaving, I was reluctant to leave and looked at the sea for the last time. I didn't expect to see a familiar figure when I turned my head. I only asked him to call me, but didn't let him appear in front of me. Such a disgusting person simply polluted this beautiful sea. I glanced at him without stopping, and walked past him and prepared to go back. But after just a few steps, my wrist was grabbed by Chen Junhui. Why didn't you tell us when you came here? Hongxia, what are you doing? You have been fine for so many years, why do you suddenly want to divorce, just because your son helped Xiaozui repair a tree? I thought I had let it go, but when I heard him say this again here, tears still surged uncontrollably. Xiaokui, you call me so kindly. How long are you going to keep it from me, Chen Junhui? For 40 years, you have deceived me so much. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? You teamed up with Wu Kui to deceive me like this. If I hadn't helped you clean your computer that day, I would have been deceived by you until the day I died. Chen Junhui's face changed instantly. Hongxia, you. I already know it all. I know it all. You use the excuse of being busy at school every day and say that you are looking for writing inspiration every day. It's all about having sex with Wu Kui in bed, isn't it? If not, just deny it. Chen Junhui froze there, his mouth opened, as if he was acupunctured. I couldn't help but grab his collar. I have given birth to children for you, respected my parents-in-law, and stayed with you all my life. How could you bear it? Are you still a human being? Aren't you afraid of being struck by lightning? Chen Junhui saw me crying and breaking down, and for the first time, his face showed a look of heartache. Hongxia. You are simply a scumbag. For 40 years, countless long nights. I am also a woman. Do you know how I spent those long and lonely nights? I thought about you, because I was determined to be with you. No matter how hard it was, I could endure it for you. But how did you do it? You felt at ease and had no guilt with other women, and you even took a video as a souvenir? You were cold to me all day long like a piece of ice. Do you know how much you have hurt me over the years? I was really wronged. The more I talked, the more wronged I felt. The tears flowed down my eyes more and more violently. Chen Junhui rarely held me in his arms. I pushed him away. Don't touch me, don't you know how dirty you are? Do your son and daughter-in-law know you are like this? You have so many students who respect you, do they know that you, a professor with a wealth of knowledge, are so selfish and self-centered? Do they know that you are a beast in human clothing? I don't know how long I cried, I just know that the sky was getting dark. I got up and prepared to go back to their hotel, but Chen Junhui suddenly stopped me. Hongxia, I'm sorry, he said, kneeling in front of me. I know I can't defend myself, but please don't tell the children, okay? I couldn't help but sneer. You still know how to be ashamed? Do you still know that people live on their faces and trees live on their skins? I spit at him and turned to leave, but he grabbed my ankle. I know it's all my fault. I will be twice as good to you in the future. Whatever you say is what it is, okay? I will give you everything I didn't give you before, okay? You said divorce was just a rant, right? I feel sick when I see you now. I can't eat or sleep. How can I live with you anymore? The only way is divorce. You are too cruel. If you treat me as a human being, you won't end up in this situation today. After saying that, I pushed him away. 6. The next day, I just got up and came out of the hotel room, and I saw Chen Junhui sitting on the ground at my door. He stood up quickly, looking embarrassed. If you're not here to discuss a divorce, get out. Hongxia, can't you really give me another chance? Chen Junhui, can you stop pretending? Why are you pretending here? If you divorce me, you can just be with that bitch. You're too proud to be here, right? You really won't tell the children, and you won't spread it around. I looked at this man in his 70s, but still handsome and tall, and suddenly felt pathetic. How could I fall in love with such a guy? Stop talking nonsense, sign the divorce agreement now, otherwise I will post a big character poster about you at school and ruin your reputation. He finally agreed to divorce me. On the condition that I would protect his reputation, he gave me all his property. He left the house with nothing, and I gave him a month to move out of my house. A month later, I met him again at the Civil Affairs Bureau. We got the divorce certificate and parted ways completely. And I saw Wu Kui's car not far away. It's also troublesome to sell real estate. I was afraid of being cheated, so I rented out all of them. I have 5 or 6 houses, and the rent alone is very good every year. This time I went home, I took a plane. The procedures were a bit complicated. It was my first time to take a plane. But it's good to have money. I got there in 2 hours. My account has posted anything for a long time. I started posting videos of me raising cats and growing vegetables. It was just a casual post, but I didn't expect that I would suddenly become popular. One video actually got 1 million likes, and I also gained tens of thousands of followers. That day, to celebrate, I made dumplings for myself. But I didn't expect that when I was feasting, an uninvited guest came. It was my son. My son came in angrily and asked, "Mom, are you divorced from my dad? Who told you to divorce on your own initiative? You are not afraid of being embarrassed at your age. Why do you keep smearing me? Didn't I say that I would be the first to disagree with your divorce? I also said that you are nothing. I don't need your consent to divorce. Mom, you..." He was so angry that his face turned red. Then his voice softened a bit. "Mom, I know you are angry about what happened last time. I apologize to you, okay? Just come back with me. Look at where you live," he said, getting up and starting to walk around. "You don't live in a nice high-rise building anymore. Why do you live in such a shabby house? It's not convenient to buy vegetables here. Here I don't need to be treated as a nanny and drink all day long, and live by other people's faces. I eat well and sleep well. Mom, don't be angry, old man, our Wenwen misses grandma very much. My husband and I are so busy. I send Wenwen to school every day and I am late for several times. My boss said that if I am late again, I may be promoted." I couldn't help but sneer. "Where is your dad? Isn't your professor dad very powerful? Can't he do this? Don't mention it. You know that dad can't drive. Let him cook a meal, which makes our Wenwen vomit and have diarrhea for several days. Why, now you know that I, an old mother, am useful. Didn't you say that I was idle at home?" He was so embarrassed that he had nothing to say. I tell you, Wang Hongxia, am also a person. I was not born to be someone's vassal. I have been a cow and horse for you all my life. Now I don't want to be one anymore. I don't have a son or a husband. I want to live for myself for a few days. It is impossible to remarry. As for why, you go back and ask your father. He will tell you everything. All the faults are his. After that, I drove him away and closed the door. 7. After that, I started to live my own life. My self-media account became more and more popular. Occasionally, I would broadcast live when I had time. Many people asked me questions and interacted with me. They also praised me for my beauty and said that I must have been a great beauty when I was young. I also received more attention. I have always liked things with ancient style and charm. In fact, I studied well when I was in school, especially Chinese. I have a deep foundation in ancient poetry. But we were too poor. My father said that it was useless for a girl like me to study. I was going to get married anyway. He didn't want to waste money on me. He was afraid that there would be no one at home to cut grass for the cows, so he didn't let me study. Sometimes I think that if I could study, I would not have been involved with Chen Junhui, and maybe I would have a husband who loved me wholeheartedly. However, let the past be the past. No matter how much time is said, it cannot be reversed. In addition to sharing my pastoral life, I also write poems. I didn't expect that there would be a great response. In less than 2 months, my fans have increased to 1 million. And I actually received a call from a producer. He said I wrote well and wanted to buy it to write lyrics. I was very happy and agreed immediately. After the song was released, it quickly became popular on the internet, and my poems also attracted a lot of official attention. Some people contacted me to publish a book, and some people invited me to join the Writers Association. I have now become a real poet, which is also my dream. Although the road was bumpy, fortunately I reached the end. As for Chen Junhui, I only saw him on the internet. He finally got what he wanted and was with Wu Kui. However, he still knew how to save face and did not say that he would marry Wu Kui. Instead, he said that Wu Kui was originally his wife, and they held a golden wedding ceremony directly. The video was posted on the internet, and everyone was very surprised, and they were moved to tears by the beautiful love of this pair of people. I met them again 2 months later, when I had just gone to Sweden to receive an international literary award. Although this literary award is niche, it is very valuable, and I am the first Chinese to receive this honor. At the airport, various media outlets held microphones to interview me. There were also many book fans and my fans who asked me for autographs. Everyone was so enthusiastic that I promised to interact with everyone live in the evening. When I left the airport and was about to go to their hotel, several people rushed to me. They were my son and his family of 3. My son changed his previous attitude, held my hand, and said warmly, "Mom, you are great. You are a great hero of our country for winning glory for the country." "Yes, Grandma is great." I ignored them. "Mom, today is such a happy day, let's go have a good meal to celebrate." "Sorry, no, I've eaten." After saying that, I hurried to leave, but my grandson hugged my legs. Grandma, don't you want me? I don't want to eat for happiness meatballs from you anymore, can you go home?" That grandma is bad, I don't like her. The child was raised by me since childhood, and this aggrieved look was very cute. I squatted down and touched her face, then stood up and prepared to leave. My daughter-in-law stopped me. My daughter-in-law usually respects me, often helps me with housework on weekends, and usually buys me some clothes and jewelry. I was not angry with her, so I gave her face. We did not eat, but found a cafe. And I also knew the purpose of their visit this time. Wenwen's body was always covered with bruises, which attracted their attention. After observing at school, they could not find the reason, so they installed surveillance at home. Then they found the truth. It turned out that Wu Kui actually abused the child, usually scolding or beating him. "We have already kicked out that bad woman, Mom. Dad defended her, so we kicked him out too. Come back with us. Wenwen needs you, and we need you too." What? After comparing, I think an old woman like me who didn't even graduate from elementary school is still useful. Are literary critics flashy and superficial? 8. The daughter-in-law slapped her son. "Why don't you apologize to Mom quickly? She is your mother who gave birth to you, raised you, and loved you all your life. Look at what nonsense you said the other day. You really broke Mom's heart this time. Mom, I'm sorry, I was really wrong. I really regret what I did to you before." Regret? Do you really treat me as your mother? You just apologized because there is one less person in the family. You didn't regret it at all, you regretted that Wu Kui was such a disobedient nanny. Have you forgotten what you said when you were a child? When you were a child, you said that you would accompany your mother for the rest of your life, love me for the rest of your life, and never let me suffer any grievances, but what did you do? You are just like your conscienceless father, selfish, shameless, and hypocritical. I will never forgive you. If there is no one to take care of your children, you can find a nanny. Don't think about finding me as a free nanny. I want to live for myself now, and I have my own career. I am not one Hongxia who can only wash dishes and pots. Do you understand? If you stop me on the street again, I will call the police for harassment. After that, I got up and left. After that, my career flourished, and I was completely different from Chen Junhui, a mere literature professor, and Wu Kui, a so-called literary critic. I have many book fans. Not only am I a big internet celebrity, but my annual royalties are their salary for several years. And there seemed to be a rift between Chen Junhui and Wu Kui. That day, I went back to dispose of the real estate there. I saw people arguing on the road, and there were a lot of passers-by watching the fun. Some were even recording with their mobile phones. Bitch, you are old and your hair is all white, you are still cheating on me. Have you been cheating on me with many men all these years? He slapped her in the face. The woman cried and cursed. Chen Junhui, why the hell did you hit me? I'm not your wife. I heard the familiar name and walked closer. It was Chen Junhui and Wu Kui. I really misjudged you, you shameless bitch. These days you can only do eyebrow and lip painting, cook like pig food, and are so sloppy that your mother can't recognize you. You are not comparable to Hongxia in any way. The thing I regret most in my life is that I let Hongxia down. Hongxia, why the hell did you look for me when Hongxia is so good? She has already become a phoenix. You think of her now, but you may not even smell her fart. What did you say? Chen Junhui kicked Wu Kui to the ground. I could hardly believe it. How could Chen Junhui, who was always gentle and elegant, say such words and hit a woman? From what he said, Bai Yueguang finally became mosquito blood. I helped call 110 without staying for long. Before the evening, the video of the two of them was on the hot search in the city. Eat melons. This woman is still so hungry at such an old age. I give up. I can't stop laughing, family members. Is this the old version of Temptation of Going Home? It's too dramatic. No, wait, isn't this Professor Chen Junhui? Professor Chen Junhui is so miserable. Such a loving wife, a good man, was planted with a green grassland. And someone soon found out the truth. Loving wife, you are all deceived. This guy is a scum who abandoned his wife. This old man drove his original wife out just to be with this Wu Kui or Go Kui. Oh my god, is this still a human being? He is so disgusting at such an old age. It turns out that scum is not divided by age, and scum is still scum when he is old. Sisters, I work in a nursing home. Don't let me see this bastard in the nursing home in the future, otherwise I will slap him to death. It didn't take long for them to find out that I was their abandoned original wife. 9. I have a lot of fans, and since I can achieve such a high achievement at the age of 70, many passers-by feel sympathy for me, and my fans have skyrocketed. The comments are all about me scolding scumbags and bitches. Chen Junhui and Wu Kui were also completely ruined, and were bullied online to the point of quitting the internet. I thought the matter would slowly calm down, but unexpectedly Chen Junhui's computer broke down. He took it for repair, and the repairman saw the folder inside. The repairman was a fan of my books and made all the videos public. The internet caused an uproar again, and the verbal criticism of Chen Junhui and Wu Kui was restarted. Chen Junhui's previous unit also noticed it, and all the titles and honors he had received were revoked. Soon after, my son and his family brought Chen Junhui to my house again. They took a lot of bags, and Chen Junhui also bought me a gold bracelet, a gold ring, and a gold necklace. Wife, I'm sorry, I was wrong, please forgive me, I only now know how good you are and how important you are to me. The filter was broken, and I saw that he was old and thin, and I felt sick and wanted to vomit. Hongxia, I can't live without you. We have been married for a lifetime, and we can't just break up like this. Without you, I haven't eaten for a few days. I haven't had a full meal. He even had tears in the corners of his eyes. You'll starve to death if you don't have anything to eat. Hongxia, you've always been good to me, why are you so heartless? How dare you say that? I've been good to you all my life, but what did you do? You treated me as a tool to give birth to children, and you've lied to me all my life, for 40 years. People only live once in their lifetime. You're such a heartless animal, how dare you come here? You should bang your head against the wall. Mom, my dad is not a human being. What he did is not human at all. He has nothing now, so just forgive him. Shut up, and you, I worked so hard to raise you, but you actually recognized a thief as your mother. Do you think you're a human being? You ordered my mother around, and you were afraid that the woman would be killed by the branches, so you climbed up to trim the branches. Have you forgotten? I don't want to say a word to you. You two scumbags, get out of here right now. They didn't leave, and they even opened a hotel nearby to stay and harassed me every day. Helpless, I could only lock the door and continue to play. I read the news of Wu Kui's death on the internet. Wu Kui had been messing around with other men for years. She didn't get married because of Chen Junhui, and because she would not be free if she got married. She could do whatever she wanted if she didn't get married. Unfortunately, her chaotic private life led to various STDs, genital warts, syphilis, and AIDS. She had multiple organ failure at the end of her life, was as thin as a hole, and experienced unbearable pain before she died. Destroying other people's families and betraying her best friend was her retribution. Thinking of having lived with Chen Junhui for more than 40 years, I hurried to the hospital for a comprehensive examination. Fortunately, there was no problem. He didn't touch me for 40 years, and now it seems that he was saving my life. But Chen Junhui was not so lucky. Because he had a high fever for many times without reason, his son took him to the hospital, and the hospital successfully found the cause. He was infected. And his sons had completely cut off contact with him for fear of infection. I was about to laugh out loud, because cruel torture more horrible than hell was still to come.